Hello.
Hi.
It's Jen and Kelly here talking about Chapter 5 of the Amplify book study. So I guess our takeaways from the chapter was being able to use technology as a reflection tool. So what we did was create a survey on Microsoft 365. We used forms to create a survey for the students for them to reflect on the school year. So it's just basically an end-of-year survey.
Sorry, we're brain dead because
yeah.
it's June 1st. So one of the things that I liked about this chapter was, and I'm just going to show you some examples of what they did. Basically, they gave us examples of how they used different kinds of reflections and ways that they captured student work. This is a pretty neat one, how they use like Padlet walls and stuff where students could say what they're working on and then underneath got it if they got it already and moving on. So they gave us a lot of different examples of how digital tools were used in order to help the teacher collect data about the students and help the students become more reflective and ultimately best practices that the students and the teachers could walk away from. So that was a big part of the collaboration piece too. It's just everybody giving their input and then making a better informed decision. So having gone with that, we decided to do the end of the year digital survey, and we used Microsoft 365. In the forms area, you can create a form, and basically we did a variety of questions that basically just had the students say how they felt about science, had it changed from the beginning of the year or not, and then we asked them to use the rating tool to rate the different units of study that they had this year in science, and then finally we asked them to give one piece of advice that they wanted to tell next year's incoming 6th grade students. So I'll let Ms. Wong reflect on their feedback and then anything else that you want to add to that.
Okay, so what I easily noticed from the rating system was that a lot of the students enjoyed space more than any of the other units, which I think is expected because there's just so many questions about space, and that's basically the first thing they ask. Are we to learn about space when they first meet me or when they first come into class? And then when the last question was, what's one piece of advice you would give for the next groups or next year's 6th graders? A few of them said that they needed to listen more, which to me made me think, oh, I probably talk too much and they don't talk to each other enough. Or I just give verbal directions as opposed to giving it verbally and having it displayed, or that I need to model them more so that way they really understand the content and really understand the directions and what's expected of them.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead. Nope.
Well, I'm just wondering if the units that were the least rated, or if they were like the drier, more boring-ish kind of information, where it's just a lot of information that kids have to read and maybe not a whole lot of science involved in it. If there are apps that we can find like in Discovery Ed, or using some other things like the recording booth or whatever we read about in Amplify to just kind of juice it up or beef it up for the kids next year to make it a little bit more exciting. So that might be something where we can take what we've learned from Amplify and bump up those units like matter and earth systems that were rated rather low by the kids to give it a little bit more pizzazz. So maybe that's one way you could do it. And then I was thinking another thing is that we could give the kids a beginning of the year survey also, similar to this, and we can't ask them the same questions because this is kind of more geared just reflecting towards the end of the year, which I like. But I think maybe we can give the kids a survey where they reflect on what they already know about science or what they think these units are going to be about. And then maybe the last question could be like any questions that you have that you want to learn about the first unit, or maybe any of the units. But I think this tool is really nice because Microsoft Forms will actually tally all of the data for you. And you can also see who's taken it, who hasn't taken it. It's really a nice tool to use. And you can just push it right out to the kids, and then they can log on and respond to it. So that was another nice feature about the survey that I liked. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So thank you. This is our second to our last one. Yay! And that's it.
All right.
Okay, bye.